You are listening to The Memory Keeper by Evan Vaile. Chapter 39.
Common sense dictated that Reece stay away, but he wasn't one to blindly privilege the head over the heart. At around the same time as Special Agent Vanna was discussing photographs at division headquarters, Reece returned to the college to speak to Claire. When she opened her door, her expression of surprise darkened to one of anger. All too clearly, she remembered the federal police officer chasing him out of the MCG yesterday. She stayed at the open door and waited for him to say something. He waited for her to say something. Neither spoke, and Claire didn't feel the public corridor was the place for it. So she moved back into her room and began pacing in the small space, with so much to say but not knowing where to begin. Reece closed the door. Her room was the typical student clutter of clothes and books. The young man and woman faced each other. He crossed his arms and leaned against the desk. Claire spread her hands and shrugged her shoulders, her eyes unblinking, a gesture of exasperation and confusion. When he didn't reply, she blurted out, "Well, aren't you going to tell me what the hell happened yesterday?" Reece coughed and itched his nose uncomfortably. He'd come to say goodbye, not get entangled in explanations. "I wasn't planning on it," he replied. Claire's eyes almost popped out of her head. "Oh, really?" she yelled. "I think I deserve an explanation." "It's complicated," he muttered. Her hands were back on her hips indignantly. "Good," she screamed. "Because it's going to have to be, to explain why a cop pulled out a gun and tried to arrest you. A gun, Reece. Cops don't point guns at people with unpaid parking tickets." Reece shook his head. "Trust me, you don't want to know," he said. How she wanted to hit him at that moment. "You know what?" she screamed. "You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't even know why I'm speaking to you. You could be some kind of horrible criminal, some kind of murderer, a terrorist. I've known you for 10 months, but I don't know anything about you. I don't even know what your real name is." "Look," he began. "I'm sorry about what happened yesterday. I didn't mean for you to see all of that." "Oh, really?" she said dramatically. "You mean you didn't want me to find out that everything you've said to me is a complete lie?" The fingers she smoothed through her dark hair were the very same ones she wanted to reach out and strangle him with. "Let's try a little test," she exclaimed. "What is your real name, Smith or Nylander?" Reece equivocated, pushing some books aside on the desktop before sitting down. "It's honestly not important," he ventured finally. "I answer to both." "It's important to me," Claire yelled. "And it sure seemed important to that cop. Tell me, Reece Nylander, or whatever your name is, how did you get away from him, huh? Did you kill him? Did you shoot him?" "No," Reece yelled. Claire paused, shocked at his sudden vehemence. "How then?" she asked. "I outran him all right," he said. "He's perfectly fine." Reece didn't bother to add that he saved Vanna's life. Such a statement would just evoke more questions he wanted to avoid. "He's perfectly fine?" Claire repeated. "Yes," he declared. "How do I know you're not lying?" she pressed. "You've lied about everything else." "For Christ's sake," Reece yelled. "Do you want to hear the truth? Is that what you want?" "Have I ever said any differently?" she retorted. "All right," he replied. He stopped, collecting his thoughts, then said, "I am in trouble with the police. I robbed a bank last year and now they're onto me. The money's hidden under the mattress in my room." Claire stood absolutely still, her eyes searching his face. It sounded ridiculous. Reece robbing a bank? Yet Reece getting chased by a gun-wielding cop was ridiculous. Her mouth opened and shut, forming soundless words. A variety of expressions crossed her countenance before finally settling on intrigue. Eventually, she found her voice. "Really?" she asked. "No!" he exclaimed. Her wide-eyed expression of curiosity twisted into one of anger. "Screw you!" she screamed. Reece spread his hands in supplication. "I can't tell you, Claire. You won't believe me," he explained. "Look at it from my perspective, Reece," she said. Her voice had dropped to a venomous whisper. "I can't think of one reason why I shouldn't go straight to the police and tell them everything I know about you." "If you do, you'll never see me again," he said with a matter-of-fact voice. Claire averted her eyes and shook her head. Then she started past him, walking toward the door. "Maybe that's a good thing," she muttered. Reece moved from atop the desk and grabbed hold of her so fast it startled her. She stopped, feeling his fingers on her arm, the touch of a stranger now. When she raised her gaze to his eyes were deadly serious. "I was in jail," he began quietly. "Not a normal jail. A special jail. A secret jail. I was there for 2 years, but me and some other inmates escaped about 10 months ago. It's the federal police's job to catch us and put us all back inside." The young man and woman were standing very close together. Claire stared into his eyes, a strange calmness inside her. "How stupid do you think I am?" she said softly. "If you've been in jail for 2 years, then that means when you got out you came straight to university, and that's impossible." She tried to step away, but he didn't release his grip. "No, it isn't," he replied. "Look, they burned a code onto my left eye. There's no jail in the world that does that except the program." "What?" Claire asked. But despite her rejection of everything he said, she found herself staring into his left eye, examining the intricate, fractured blue of his iris. "I'm gullible, but I'm not that," her voice faltered. Inside the azure pattern of his eye, she saw small black numerals, not spelling out a word, but spelling out a code, just like he said. She leaned closer, wondering how she'd never noticed them before. "Hey," she whispered, as much to herself as to him. "There are letters on your eye. Actually, on your eye." "I know," he stated. She recited each slowly. The letters were arranged in a crescent shape around the inner rim of his iris. "PXS-202, she said. "How is that possible?" "I don't understand." "All the inmates have their codes marked on their left eyes," Reece explained. "For security. It means Program Experiment Subject Number 202. Claire moved back and stared at him for a long time, her unwavering gaze searching his face, recalling everything he had told her and all the accusations she had leveled at him. Could it be true? "Where was the jail?" she asked. "Melbourne, underground," he said. She frowned. "And they put you there when you were 16 years old?" she asked. "Yes," he replied. "Why?" she asked immediately. Reece paused. He'd told her now, so he might as well tell it all. "Because I have a power that nobody understands," he said. This caused her to stop. "A power?" she asked carefully. "What do you mean, a power?" "A sixth sense," he said. "I'm like one of those clairvoyants you see at the markets, reading their crystal balls. Except I'm for real. The government locked me away because it mistook my power for something dangerous." Claire tried to adjust to this radical revision of what she knew about her friend. "You can see the future?" she asked. "Not really. It's more like I see the past," he replied. Claire blinked. "See the past?" she said skeptically. "Through other people's eyes," he explained. "I can see the past through other people's memories." She thought about this for a moment, then asked, "How?" He shrugged and said, "I don't know. It just happens. I've always been able to do it." Claire stepped away, giving herself the space to come to terms with what she was hearing. The curtains were open, and the daylight streamed into the room in bright bands, sweeping away the shadows. She gazed across the university campus, and beyond that, the tall, silver skyscrapers of the city. She heard the soft murmur of conversation from outside the window, voices she recognized. Everything was the same, yet suddenly, everything was completely different. She turned around. "Can you see my memories?" she asked. "No," he replied. "I only see the memories of people who have died. It's a bit like they give them to me. I don't think it has a name. I call them soul memories." She sat down on the edge of the mattress. "I don't know what to say," she muttered. "Just don't say anything," he asked. She looked up at him and saw sincerity in his eyes. "To anyone, please." They both paused when they heard the creak of several pairs of footsteps in the corridor. The college manager's voice rose up over the hubbub, expressing his surprise at the authorities' interest in one of his collegians. Reece walked over to the door and opened it a crack, peering at the backs of the group sweeping down the hallway. In an instant, he realized that the dark-suited men were federal agents, being led to his room by the manager. Reece quietly eased the door shut and turned to Claire. "Shit," he whispered. "What's wrong?" she asked. Reece picked up a baseball cap from the desk and fitted it onto his head. It was no disguise, but at least it covered his black hair. "I've got to go," he said. "What do you mean?" Claire asked. That's Vanna out there, he whispered. He's already tracked me down, and he's brought reinforcements. I have to get out of here. Where will you go? She asked. Reece was silent for a moment. I haven't really thought that far ahead, he said. Claire's gaze searched his face, the tendrils of a suspicion forming in her mind. Are you coming back to college? She asked. Reece looked away. Reece? She said, watching him closely. Oh, so that's it. You're leaving forever. I don't know, he shot back. Why won't you tell me where you're going? She pressed. I won't tell you where I'm going because I don't know where I'm going, he said. Then come with me to the vineyard, she replied. It's way out in the country. The federal police will never find you there, and you can stay for as long as you want. Reece was shaking his head as she was speaking. I'm not so sure that's a good idea, he protested. I don't want to get you involved. Claire's tone sharpened. Here's a newsflash, Reece, she hissed. I'm already involved. Do you think I can just forget about you? I didn't mean, he began. I don't care what you meant, she interrupted. I'm telling you what I mean. You can't come into my life and then just disappear without a trace. Her voice softened, and she reached for his hands. Please. My last exam was a few days ago, so there's nothing here to keep me in Melbourne for the summer. If you have nowhere else to go, come to the vineyard for a little while with me. Reece paused and wondered if he was making a mistake. All right, he agreed. She smiled. It's the Shelton Estate Winery, she said. You can find the address in the phone book. He moved to the window and cast his gaze around the rear of the college grounds. Reece spied a few familiar students lingering at the rear gate and a larger group swarming around the basketball courts in the distance. He peered into the shadows near the trees, but couldn't see any lurking agents. He stuck one foot out the window and looked to Claire. If anyone asks, you never saw me here. He watched her nod in acquiescence, then stealthily climbed out before leaping lightly to the grassy ground below. There he paused, crouched down in the shadows, watching for movement. Tucking his hair back under the rim of his cap, he hastened along the gravel path. The manicured gardens flowed by without event, and the few people he passed were students and not agents. He quickly departed the college grounds through the rear gate, moving along the track toward the university. Suddenly, a bulky agent with a waxen face and slick, oily hair appeared at his right, emerging from a darkened gate. Reece saw him in his peripheral vision and tried not to look in his direction. The agent closed the gate slowly, his ferret-like eyes tracing the movement of the young man wearing the baseball cap. He mentally broke him down to his constituent parts. Age seemed right. Height and weight seemed right too. Eyes, blue, correct. Hair, covered by the cap, could be any color. The agent checked the young man's demeanor. Casual, unconcerned. Like all the freaking students here, too much time on his hands. Excuse me, the agent said. Reece turned and looked at the dark-suited man as if noticing him for the first time. Yup, he asked innocently. The agent produced some identification before asking Reece to do the same. Reece reached into his wallet and withdrew the driver's license that John Q had supplied him yesterday. The false name read Matthew Lloyd Clark, and not one single piece of information on the card was correct. The nonchalance in Reece's eyes sharpened to cunning when the agent lowered his gaze to the card. The dark-suited man took his sweet time examining the license, and the ex-program inmate didn't require any particular clairvoyance to sense the agent's suspicions. The agent glanced up, his eyes fixed on a black lock of hair that had come loose from beneath the cap's rim. Matthew, he said carefully, testing the name the way a baseball player swings a bat through the air to sample its weight. He slotted the license into his jacket pocket, thinking of his boss's warning about Nylander. He's extremely dangerous, Vanna had said, and may be carrying false identification. If you sight anybody matching his physical description, cuff them and bring them in. Reece watched the agent loosen his jacket off his holstered gun and knew the game was up. The hand holding the license disappeared into his jacket, then reappeared holding a black pistol. He kept it pointed at the ground, his finger lazily curling around the trigger. A hint of a smile tugged at his lips. Matthew Clark, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will. As the agent read him his rights, Reece raised his hands and made all the sounds of innocence, while his mind evaluated escape routes. Once the agent finished his speech, he produced a pair of shiny silver handcuffs and told Matthew to turn around. Reece did so, protesting his innocence, proffering his hands behind him for restraint. He knew the gun was still pointed at the ground, and that was why the agent would never beat him. 2 years spent surviving in the program had engendered all the inmates with the kind of sang-froid that soldiers only gain after extended periods of combat experience. The instant the cold steel of the handcuff touched his wrist, Reece stepped to his right and grabbed the gun. The agent had just enough time for his face to register surprise before Reece cracked him in the nose with his elbow. The agent bellowed and struggled, but Reece had the advantage of surprise. He twisted the man's gun arm behind his back and shoved him toward the black iron gate through which the man had crept a few moments ago. The agent's angry complaints were difficult to understand with the fence squashing his lips into the shape of a fish's mouth. Reece divested him of the handcuffs, then snapped them around the man's wrist and one of the iron bars, securing him to the gate. He bent his arm back until he squealed and released the weapon, then removed the clip and the bullet in the chamber and threw the gun into the bushes. Reece patted down the man's jacket and located a mobile phone and the handcuff keys. There was more furious spittle pouring from the agent's mouth than blood from his dented nose. Reece stepped away, casting a contemptuous glance at the man. He jogged down the path, heading toward the center of the university. His fingers worked at the phone, checking through the alphabetical entries. Sure enough, he found the name he was looking for: Vanna. Reece crossed the car park and hastened past the Union building. He dialed Vanna's number, walking while the phone rang. Reece smiled when a familiar voice barked through the speaker, "Vanna here." Reece had a strong image of the agent rummaging through his room at the college. "Mr. Vanna, how are you?" he said casually. A pause. The tone turned suspicious. "Who is this?" Vanna growled. Reece's feet never stopped moving, conveying him through the crowd of students swanning around the campus. "I'm hurt you don't remember my voice," he said. "Nylander?" Vanna snarled. "How did you get this number?" Reece's attention roved around the pathways, searching for more agents. "I just asked one of your friends," he replied. "You know, the clones in the dark suits who never smile and froth at the mouth when you slap them a little bit." Reece heard the crash of an object colliding with a wall and wondered what the boss agent had just broken in his room. "Where are you?" Vanna hissed. "A long way from you," Reece replied. "I just wanted to call and check that you're feeling all right after your near-death experience on the train. If I remember correctly, I actually saw your hair smoldering like marshmallows on a campfire. I bet you've got a few more greys in the old coiffure now. More items smashing. Something glass this time." "You were lucky," Vanna growled. "Don't let it go to your head." "Lucky, huh?" Reece laughed. "You know, you never did thank me for saving your life." "Why don't you turn yourself in?" Vanna retorted. "Aren't you sick of living on the run?" Reece passed beneath the breezeway of a building. "After you've lived in a cage, being on the run is a wonderful thing, Vanna," he explained. "I wouldn't expect you to understand that." "I'll find you, Nylander, wherever you go," Vanna spat. "I don't care if you run all the way to Alaska. I'll have an agent waiting in your igloo to shoot a trank in your ass. I'll catch you eventually." At that moment, Reece stepped from the campus grounds. The city street facing him was busy with morning traffic. He stopped on the curb, standing on the edge of the gutter. "Not if I catch you first," he replied, then dumped the mobile phone in the drain at his feet. He listened to it clatter into the concrete depths of the sewerage system. Then he darted across the road and disappeared into the city.
That is the end of this chapter. To listen to the next chapter on YouTube or to purchase the digital ebook from Amazon, see the links in the description.